everyone, Ashlyn Giza YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about plants and legalizing marijuana, my opinion on that and everything. So, I've always been a huge lover of plants of any kind. I love flowers, I love trees, I love um like house plants, outdoor plants, any kind of plant. I'm actually getting a certification in design and decorating people's yards and porches and just outdoor. So I'm also getting certified in like being able to teach and give knowledge about plants. I don't know when I'm going to get my certifications, but I'm hoping in the next few weeks. So, anyways, so first let me talk about my opinion on marijuana and everything. Okay, I don't smoke marijuana, and the reason why I don't is because here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, it's illegal. Now, I'm one of those people that I'm not going to do anything illegal because I just not one of those people that like to do things against the law, but of course, the ultimate reason is my children. So, I can't smoke marijuana because I have kids, and if you smoke marijuana here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, you will get your kids taken away. So, I don't do that. But anyways, am I for it? Yes, I am. I am for marijuana all the way. I believe that it can help with cancer. I believe it can help with your headaches. I believe it can help with stress, depression, anxiety, any mental illness. I believe that it can help. How do I know? Because I used to smoke it back in high school, and I didn't struggle with any anxiety in high school. I was very social. I didn't really get sick that often. And then it's kind of funny because as soon as I quit smoking it, after I had kids and all that, headaches, stress, don't like to socialize anymore. In fact, I'm on anxiety medication for panic attacks and because I get social anxiety and stuff like that. So I am all for marijuana. Plus, I believe it helps with cancer situations, and I feel strongly that if I was able to legally smoke marijuana, that it would keep my cancer away. So I'm a huge advocate for marijuana, and everybody who gets to smoke it, God bless you, and you're lucky. But so yeah, I can't. I wish I could. As soon as it's legal here, I will be for, like good purposes and of course recreational purposes too. But I would be more of a person who I would come home at night, and just want to watch a movie and smoke and take my anxieties away type of person. A midnight toker, if you want to say that. But so and I don't know much about growing it or any of that too, because I know some stuff from high school or whatever from certain friends and people, but obviously I'm not going to say names, but I don't know like advanced stuff or anything like that. Just the basic things that you need to know how to grow it and stuff and how to keep them alive, but obviously you can't do you in apartments you can't do that, and in your own home here in Cedar Rapids you can't do that anywhere here. So I haven't even really like done further research just because what's the point if I can't do it? I mean, I know the basic stuff that you need to know. If I needed to know anything further later in the future when it's legal, then I'll look it up. But nonetheless, so my I I was going to show you guys a couple house plants that I have and talk to you guys about how you can keep plants alive and keep them growing and things you might want to try to if your plants are dying. So, essentially, if you're growing like radishes or anything like that, you can actually start those inside just because they're mainly an outdoor plant that you want to grow in like a garden or vegetable garden or something. That doesn't mean that you can't grow them inside. So you can get these mini mini plant holder things. They're about this big, and you can plant individual seeds in them. And that's how I would do it, just because in my personal experience, when I tried to grow radishes in one pot, kind of closer together, they grew halfway and then they ended up dying. And I think it's because their bulbs couldn't get big and continue to grow. So I think I planted them too close. So obviously, when you plant seeds, you want to space them apart pretty, far. And most of the time, if you want to do vegetables and stuff, I would do them in a vegetable garden outside, but you can start them inside just like any other plant. So, and obviously, the main things about plants that you need to know is sun, how much sun they need, how much water they need, and air, like fresh air, like outdoor air. So, um, there are some houseplants that you don't have to take outside to get fresh air. You don't really need to, but it's always good to, because fresh outdoor air is always the best for plants. And so I'm going to show you guys a couple plants and tell you guys my experiences with them. The ones that I have here at home. So this plant here, right here, is called a Dracaena. I don't think I'm pronouncing that all the way correctly, but it's a type of a tree, bamboo tree. And so I got this plant um, at my dad's funeral. I have two of them actually, and they grow leaves all the way down them. But as you can see here, this one doesn't have leaves all the way down it. It got really sick at my friend's house. He had cats that kind of batted at it and nipped at it, and I had a house situation where the plant got kind of too wet and moldy, and it was at this house that had really bad mold, and we had to move out of it or whatever. We found out about it, and we had to move, but that's where the plant contracted mold. So as you can see here, I'm not going to get too close because I'm allergic to mold, but if you can see, there are some white dots and some black dots all over it. That's plant mold, and I'm highly allergic to it. But if you see plant mold on it, there are ways to save the plant, and one of the ways is to transplant the plant into new soil and wipe the leaves down and just wait to see what the plant does. And sometimes it'll die, but sometimes, like this one that I did that to, my husband helped transplant the plant into different dirt, but it ended up living because I'll show you guys something. See the tip of the plant right here? It's growing new leaves inside of it. So although these leaves on the outside are dead and dying, there's new growth in the inner part of the plant. So that means that we saved it, it lived. And it even grew a little, see that plant right there? That's a whole new plant that it started growing from below. So I'm really excited because when my husband transplanted this plant into new soil, it must have started growing a new plant. So there it is down there. So I'm really excited about that. Then over here I have a type of an ivy. And as you can see, it's starting to grow a new leaf in the center here, which I'm really happy about because that one wasn't really at first growing. So what you do with these ivies, I have another one over here. It's really big. And see, you can see it's compared to my hand, that leaf is really huge. So, and it's long too, it kind of hangs down. That's where the other plant in that orange plant holder came from. So you can just basically clip one of these leaves off, and I like to do them kind of in an area like this where there's part way. So if you guys can see how that's parted, I like to do it right here where my finger's tapping. Because, and then you just put water in a cup or a bowl, whatever you're not using, you know, and you can just put one of these leaves, make sure you cut it in a good spot, in water, and wait for a couple weeks, and it'll start growing roots. Once you see roots and it gets to the point where the roots are all like kind of tangled in the cup, that's when you can put it into a new pot with soil like I did to this one. So, and then it'll grow. So I just did that to one the other day, and I'll show you guys when I get outside. Now to cacti. I don't water them a whole lot, and the reason is because everyone's not supposed to. It's not just something I don't do. It's something you're not supposed to. Why? Because cactuses don't need that much water. They contain water. They contain so much water that you don't really have to water them a whole lot. So you can basically leave them alone. If you overwater them, or you water them just if you water them every day, or you water them too much, just like I said, overwater them, yeah, they'll die because they don't need a lot of water. And I think that's what happened to these over here. So I have a bunch of aloe plants. Those ones over there to the left are doing great. These ones to the right are doing kind of okay, but this one over here is failing. You can tell it's kind of mushy. See that mushy type feeling? It's dying. When aloe plants aren't like hard and stiff, that means that more than likely they're dying, or they're already dead. If you get that jelly, mushy feeling. But if you're touching them and they're like hard like this one is, and they're standing stiff, that means that they're doing really good. So if they're standing stiff like this, they're doing good. If they're drooping down like this one, that means they're not doing so good. So if they're hanging down like that, they're not doing so good. So I must have accidentally killed those, but I have a whole bunch over here and they're alive, so that's good. Now remember the other tree that I just showed you, the Dracaena plant, I can't pronounce it. I had another one that was I thought was absolutely 100% dead, but I did what I told you guys to do, and to transplant it into new soil. Wait to see what it does if you ever get plant mold. And I'm glad we did that, because look at this right here. If you guys can see this, there is a whole new growth on this plant. The rest of the plant looks like it's dead, but there's a tiny little new plant that's growing right off of that. So I'm happy. But this is what they are supposed to look like if they're healthy. See how there's leaves from top to bottom? See this one right here, how there's leaves top to bottom? That's how they're supposed to look. But my two big ones, my two tall ones, they look like palm trees because the leaves died all the way down, and it was about ready to die because of plant mold. So I'll come out here and show you guys a couple things. So if my camera showed those plants on there, I have two pots that I just planted morning glory seeds in them. And what you want to do when you're first planting flowers is you want to put soil in, and then you want to make a little hole in like kind of the middle, I'd like to say, of the soil. So you have a bottom layer of soil, middle layer, and top layer. I'd want to say that you would want to put your seeds like kind of in the middle, but lower middle towards the bottom, because if you put them up towards the top, they're probably going to die or not grow very well. So you want to plant them like towards the middle, and you want to dig kind of a hole, put the seeds in, and then put soil on top, because obviously you don't just want to put seeds in and then leave them there. So I have a couple plants and I've always loved them to death. And so I have morning glories out there, and I have an ivy that I just transplanted into the soil there too. And I just love gardening. My grandpa actually had a garden when I was growing up. He had corn, he had tomatoes, he had all kinds of fruits, and or actually not fruits, but vegetables and stuff like that. But I really remember the corn just because I remember running through it, and he didn't want us going near the garden, but we did play around it and stuff like that. But I remember him watering it and stuff like that, and it was pretty big. It was the size of like a regular bedroom, just the average size of a bedroom. So it wasn't huge or anything like that, but it was decent size. So that's what got me into liking plants and gardening and stuff like that, is because of watching him watering his garden and taking care of his plants. Also, my grandmother was a florist too. She decorated the church and stuff like that with flowers, and knew different little tips and tricks. So with flowers, for if you're a guy and you're watching this, flowers, if you're gonna buy girls flowers and you want to put them in a vase for her, or vase, however you want to pronounce it, you want to, here's the stem, you want to cut it like at a diagonal cut. You don't want to cut it straight across. You want to cut it kind of like a diagonal cut, because then that way the flowers can get more water in them that way, and they won't die. They'll be able to feed better if you cut them at a diagonal cut. Also, a trick I learned. I don't know if anybody else does this in the world. I'm pretty sure they do, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. But this is a trick that I learned from my grandma. I remember her talking about this. So if you put a little bit of sugar and a little bit of vinegar and water, for when, like, if you have got flowers from a guy, or guys you're getting flowers for a girl, or whatever, just your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, uh, you want to cut them diagonal, and then you can put vinegar and sugar in there, and the flowers will live longer. So that's a pretty cool little thing that I learned a long time ago when I was a little girl, and it works. You don't, if you don't have the flower food that the store gives to you, if they didn't give it to you or something like that, that's something that will help them live longer. Also, if flowers die and you want to keep them forever, when once the flower dries up, you can just use like hairspray on it, like Aquanet, or like any kind of hairspray like that. You can use on a flower after it dries up, and it'll stay fresh and nice and stiff forever. As long as, of course, you don't like throw the flower around, and you're not rough with it. It'll stay in place, like how it died perfectly. I wish that I don't know where I put my rose. Sorry, we just moved here like 3 months ago, so I can't remember exactly where I put everything. I'm pretty sure it's in my living room, but I have roses that my father-in-law got me and my husband. My father and mother-in-law got for me and my husband, and we kept one, and I did the hairspray trick, and actually still have it. So it's pretty cool trick and stuff like that. So those are a couple of things that I just had to say about marijuana and things that tips and tricks that I know about plants. So, if you guys know anything extra, let me know. I know there's a whole lot more that I could tell you guys, or a whole lot more that, advice I could give about plants, but I just wanted to kind of talk about my plants and what I do with them, and some tricks and tips on just saving plants and how to get a certain ivy started too. But as soon as I get my certification and stuff like that, I want to make a part two of this video and talk to you guys more, even more about stuff that I learned, and talk to you guys more about plants and stuff like that. So, if you guys know any tips or tricks on plants or how to keep them alive or whatever, leave the comment below. Otherwise, I'll be on with another life topic. Thank you.